So most people make decisions based off of emotion and not logic. Even buying decisions, and that's really all dating is. Honestly, the best dates. At it seems as if you've known this person for years, but a lot of people expect the other person to present that energy for where they feel comfortable. But I want to flip it on its head. You present that energy first, and they match it. Having her qualify herself to you. Don't give her the ending of the story.
The longest relationship I ever been in was a 4-year relationship, and we hooked up the first night.
If I have to hear one more female dating coach say, just be yourself, I'll shoot myself. Reveal information about yourself. How are we going to decide if we like you if we don't know anything about you?
My problem was this. I always put my career and my goals before a relationship. I felt like I had to have everything checked. I had to have the house, I had to have the car, I had the finances before I even think of having a serious relationship. And I missed out. I missed out on some great women because of that.
It's so sexy when a guy looks a certain way and almost acts the opposite.
Hey, this is Duran, and I'm your host of a podcast for men. I have a special guest. I have a female male dating coach by the name of Jamie. I know in this space, female male dating coaches aren't popular, but I feel like it's important to hear a woman's perspective. Not only do we need to hear a woman's perspective, I think that men need to get comfortable communicating with women and learning how to listen to women. So, Jamie, you can go ahead and give yourself a brief introduction.
So I'm Jamie Date. So I am a dating coach for men. I specialize in really anything when it comes to dating, romance, attraction, seduction, online dating, the whole gamut. And I've been doing it for a few years. And I love it.
So, what made you want to be a male dating coach, not a female dating coach? Because women need just as much help in today's dating world as men do.
So a few reasons. I think that I think I've always had a gift to speak to men in a way that they can understand where women are coming from. I also think that because of what's happening with society and with the Me Too movement, with social media, with even with the pandemic, a lot of men feel lost right now. A lot of men feel confused, lost, frustrated with dating, frustrated with women in general. And there seems to be almost like this gender versus gender uprising, which I'm not really a huge fan of. And I just feel like my place is served better, at least for now, with men. And if anything, my results have been really in favor of, a lot of my male clients have seen a lot of success. So I'm just kind of running with that. I'm leaning into that.
Okay, so did you grow up with a lot of male friends? Because I personally had a few female friends on my team, and I've heard a similar story as them as well. They just found it easier, and they had it was easy for them to communicate with men and to get male friends. They had female friends as well, but it was easy for them to bond with men and communicate. Did you grow up with a lot of male friends?
Yes, and I still do have a lot of male friends. I think that another way of looking at it, I don't know if you're familiar with Myers-Briggs or not.
I am.
But with Myers-Briggs, like one of the things is like you're a thinker or a feeler. And regardless of if you believe in Myers-Briggs or not, I just think it's a really good way of explaining, I guess, what I'm trying to say is I've taken the test like professionally. I had it professionally done for a company that I worked with. And one of the things that I had no idea what Myers-Briggs was at the time. And they're like, oh, you're a thinker. And I was like, I thought so. And she's like, yeah, no, you're a thinker, not a feeler. Only 2% of women are thinkers. Most women are feelers. And I think it just goes back to the idea of I take information in logically and I make decisions based off of logic more so than emotion.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of men can identify with that. So the way that I process information is very from a logical base. So when I receive information, I feel like I'm able to regurgitate it in a logical frame, which I think really helps a lot with male clients specifically.
I'm curious. From personal experience, I do know that men well, people who are more in their head
Mhm.
are less successful, or they have less sex than people who are more emotional. Because when it comes to dating and relationships, it's more of an art than a science. And people who are, I want to say, more logical, they're usually like, I'm a software engineer, so I'm going to take them as example. They're so in their head that they apply the same thought process that they would do to mathematics to women, and you can't go to women with, well, I've learned you can't go to women in a scientific matter. You have to go to women, you have to approach them with your heart. You have to be free. You have to be open and fun. But how has it been working with those types of men?
I mean, like, what do you mean, types of men? Like
The
logical?
logical, because you said it's easier for you to work. You're a logical woman, and
Mhm.
because of that, it's easier for you to work with men. So I'm assuming that a lot of these guys you're working with, they're overthinking it, or yeah, they're just in their heads too much. I'm sure some of them are successful and attractive, some of them aren't. But typically, when you get a man that is successful and attractive, he's approaching a woman in a more, he's looking at himself as like he has like a checklist. He says, "Hey, I got the nice car, I got the house, I got the job, I got the body, I got the looks. Why isn't she coming after me?" It's because they're missing like the romantic part of it.
Right.
And
Yeah. So what I say is, a lot of my clients, they list those things off. And I'm like, well, you're providing a resume, hoping she falls in love with a resume, but that's not how people work. And actually, I would even say, I actually used to go into the realm of thinking of like all men are just logic and women are emotional. And actually, I no longer believe that narrative. I think people are emotional. I think that men just haven't had a lot of practice in being able to express. But like even like sports, for example, no one talks about like the logistics of sports. It's more about, it's coming from like a passion, a feeling of like what their team is, or like why they chose this player for their fantasy football, because you know what I mean, like it's more of like this passion for it, right? So it's more of, you have to stimulate someone emotionally to make any sort of decision. I mean, they teach you this in marketing, right? So most people make decisions based off of emotion and not logic. Even buying decisions, and that's really all dating is, honestly, is what product are you selling? You're the product, right? So you're trying to make that person, male or female, purchase that product based off of an emotional decision. You're stimulating them emotionally. So in working with men that are very logical, yes, like I have to kind of break this down, but I don't think it's like it's impossible for them to have those thinking processes to actually make those decisions, to understand, okay, how can I present myself in this emotional capacity? Everyone has that ability. It's more of just identifying the limiting beliefs and the patterns that you've constructed for yourself, to kind of unleash those and allow yourself permission to show that side of yourself that you might not yet be comfortable in doing, but in doing so more often, you're now normalizing it, and you're becoming and you're just getting more comfortable talking to women, talking to pretty women the same way you would with your close friends and family, right? Because that's my biggest thing. At the end of the day, my biggest, part of the number one thing that I found myself repeating is act as if new people, i.e., women that you're going on dates with, are your old friend you haven't seen in a while, right? Come with that energy. Because a lot of the times, people, we mirror energy. So if you come out with the energy of like, hey, listen, we are old friends who haven't seen each other in a while, versus we are on a first date, I have to act like how I am supposed to act on a first date, a watered down version of yourself, well, you're going to end up having a really, lackluster time dating. The best dates, at it seems as if you've known this person for years, but a lot of people expect the other person to present that energy for where they feel comfortable. But I want to flip it on its head. You present that energy first, and they match it.
Okay. All right. I got a pretty interesting question for you. How do
Yes.
you get men to control their sexual urges? I'm just speaking for some of the men that I have met over the years. A lot of times when a man meets a woman that moves him in that way,
Mm-hmm.
they're instantly automatically thinking about sex. They're not approaching the woman from a more a friendly perspective. They're not trying to get to know her. they're first off they're shy and they're nervous, but they can't control like their sexual thinking and whatnot. How do you get men to to calm down, basically calm down, breathe, get to know this woman?
Mhm.
This has been something that I've struggled with. Somebody who has had my background as an athlete and I've had success with women. It's I know that the women that I have the most love for, and regardless if they're in a relationship now or not, I still care about those women, and those women still care about me. Like they'll catch up, they'll hit me up every now and then, even when they're not supposed to. I don't think because they're in a relationship, but
Mhm.
it's because we built that connection. There was space that built that connection. But sometimes men, if they're too quick to have sex with the woman, it's like they don't open up that door to really create that type of bond.
So when it comes to, well, first of all, what you're talking about is being dependent on the outcome. So one of my 5 main attraction triggers is something that triggers attraction is not being dependent on the outcome. And it works on a lot of different levels. A lot of people, some people be like, oh, well, that's just, manipulation because you're trying to act like you're not really into her, even though you are. But the reality is that you don't know this girl. So how could you be that into her? Right? If you are just going based off of attraction, that is the bare minimum. Like that's a very shallow reason to want to pursue a woman just for the physical connection and the sex or whatever. Obviously sometimes that is what is necessary for you and you want to express that, sure, but my fear is you're going to end up developing a habit and a pattern of attracting women you're not really connected to, and therefore you're going to always end up honestly running short. You're going to end up running short when it comes to having that long-term connection and not understanding like, well, I don't really feel it anymore, or she's changed or something like that. Well, you never really had it in the first place, right? Like I get that a lot with my divorced clients. In the beginning, they love the way she looks. They love the way that people look at him when they see her on his arm. You know what I mean? But when all the romance is dead, uh, that's all you had. So you have to develop that kind of that foundation, that more solidified foundation. So not being dependent on the outcome means having her qualify herself to you. Don't give her the ending of the story. If you want to sleep with her, you know what I mean? The reality is that you only want to sleep with her for her looks until you get to know her. So my biggest thing is kind of like shifting that mindset. And as far as the having sex too soon, it's funny you say that. I was actually having this conversation the other day. I find that people who have sex on the first date, it's like either one of two categories, right? It's the first one, it's usually with my younger clients, right? Where you have sex right away, they're all excited, whatever, but then they kind of either don't call her or she doesn't call you or whatever. And it's just kind of like a one and done, right? Or cut to, the people have sex on the first date, the connection was so strong that they just couldn't hold it and actually end up becoming a blossoming relationship. Because I it's funny, it's like I used to be on the realm of wait to have sex, and I still am for the most part. I think that you should really get to know someone before you have sex, just on multiple levels. Namely, the first one being, if you have sex with them too soon, you start to rationalize away red flags. She's kind of a bitch, but she's really hot and she gives me sex, so I'm going to invest in her. She makes me pay for everything, but she's really hot and she lets me have sex with her, so I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? So then you develop a pattern of repeating that with other women, and then you're going to always end up sad, pissed, frustrated, whatever. And you don't want to do that. However, if I'm being honest with you, I'm 32, right? So I'm in the age, I don't know how old you are, but I'm in the age where all my friends are getting married, right? Like that is like the age you're going to like 27 weddings in 1 year, right?
Mhm.
And I've actually, obviously I'm a dating coach, and my friends know that. And so one of the things that I like talking to them about, like the success stories, right? Like, how'd you guys meet? And then one of the questions, like, when did you guys have sex? I swear to God, about like 80 to 90% of my friends that got married last year, like, yeah, we had sex on the first date. We had sex on the first date. And I'm like, Interesting. And it made me, and obviously it's, maybe biased just because I was talking to my friends, but it made me kind of think, I was like, huh. So I don't know. I feel like that is more that mentality of rushing to have sex is kind of like a young man's game, unless that connection is just so strong that there isn't any other way of like they gotta express it through sex, which, to each his own, right?
Yeah. I 100% agree with everything that you said. I personally think it's a good idea to wait, but this is 34-year-old Duran,
Hmm.
younger me, and honestly, sometimes I still don't want to wait. But I know that that's the best thing to do, and that's the reason behind that is because I kind of I have an idea of who I am, what I want, the things I'm trying to do with my life, and the person that I choose has to fit into my life before
Right.
I can care less about any of that, you know. But ironically, the longest relationship I ever been in was it was a 4-year relationship, and we hooked up the first night.
Hmm.
But I will say we were young, we had the same social circle, so we kind of were familiar with each other. But I don't know. I think that as a mature adult, you have things going on for yourself. You need to be mindful of who you let into your life when you give your body to.
Hmm.
Now, I want to ask you a question. You said that you became, well, you sent me an email. In the email, you mentioned that you became a dating coach. Craigslist, is that right? Using Craigslist?
Oh yeah. It's a great story. So as far as as far as my Craigslist story, um, so I was about 25, and I used to, and actually this is funny, now that I've been doing this, there's a few dating coaches that I know or have followed or have actually interviewed. And I find that this is actually kind of a weirdly common trend, but I used to do door to door sales. So I used to be a door to door salesperson for solar panels in Southern California. So if you were living in the Orange County area during the years of 2012 to 2015, I've probably knocked on your door. But either way, I used to train door to door sales, and I used to be really good at it, right? So, what is door to door sales if not approaching? And it's funny because you're mainly approaching wives, moms at their doorstep, so you got to appeal to them. So you got to make a really good impression right off the bat, right? Because everyone's like, oh, you're just good looking. So, of course, they're going to say yes. Not when they're a housewife, not trying to find you attractive or anything like that, right? So I had to learn to win them over very quickly. And with that, I ended up learning what worked, training, doing really well with that. But like most direct sales, after a few years, I got very burnt out. I made a bunch of money, but I was miserable. So I quit, backpacked South America, had a little, eat, pray, love moment, came back, and I was like, all right, what do I want to do? What does Jamie want to do? So I just I had savings at that point. So I was like, just kind of taking my time, trying to find out what my next move was going to be. And, I was perusing Craigslist as you do, for the odd jobs, just because I wanted to make some, I'm not one to kind of sit around. I always want to be doing something. So I was looking at odd jobs to see what was out there. And one of the advertisements was like I think it was like actress or something like that. Come to this party with the, talk to these guys, and you can't leave. We'll provide you alcohol. We'll pay you like $100 or whatever, and just talk to the guys and let us know how they did. And I was like, tight, sign me up. So I go, and you can pretty much drop me anywhere. I'm gonna have a good time. But I'm talking to these guys, what have you, and then they kind of pull all the girls in the back, and they're like, all right, like how did so and so do? How did Paul do? How did Mike do? John do? Whatever. And where a lot of other girls were just kind of like, oh, he did a good job. He was nice. Whatever. Just kind of get their $100 and leave. I, with my sales training background, was like, all right, this is like this guy's standing too far away. This guy's too close. This guy's, cracking jokes that aren't really that funny. This guy is, talking in a way that's not really paying attention to me. Like I gave very detailed advice, and I remember all of them kind of looked and they were like, do you want to work with us? And I was like, sure. So then I would go and do these boot camps, which I'm sure you're familiar with. So these boot camps, guys will pay, to fly down for the weekend and go out with us. But during the day, we would have class. and I would be the girl that they would practice on, right? So I would give them real-time feedback on how they're coming off, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what they can change. And then from there, 2 years later, the guy, Jared Syke Lawrence, he started Modern Flirting, calls me up and he's like, hey, listen, I'm starting my own company. Come with me. And then I did that. I was a drill model. So I was the girl that you would practice with for about a year. And then I just started getting so many clients. And then actually Cosmo, the winner of VH1's Pickup Artist, he actually works at Modern Flirting too with us. He was like, Jared, she's not a drill model. She's a coach, like make her coach. So then I was a coach, and then I started TikTok, and then I just started getting all these clients, lots of success stories, and here I am.
I've heard about those types of programs before, but I've never actually investigated it and checked that out. How was that doing? How was the experience working with those men while you were like they were practicing their game on you?
Yeah, so I still do it. So that's actually one of my services that I provide is that they pay me and we practice, and the main thing is, so it's great. Okay, so it's not as realistic, obviously, because we're doing Zoom, right? So we don't get all the environment and all the other, whatnot. But that's actually not what I'm looking for, is the reality of it. I'm more looking for how you lead conversation. So it actually gives me more of an idea of what type of questions are you asking, because that's kind of more realistic of like, what type of questions you asking during the drills are probably likely the same kind of questions you're asking her during, in a real life situation. How are you responding? How are you coming up with humor? How are you, escalating flirtation with, your words, your body language, your facial expressions? My biggest one is your tonalities. How are you talking? Are you just monotone? I mean, so many guys are obsessed with this whole, like, I have to deepen my voice and not show any inflection. So because I am masculine, and I'm like, you come off boring and uninterested and unintriguing. And you know what I mean? So that is the stuff. And now that we've done it, when they're out, whoop, she told me she's going to look out, this girl's doing this. She told me about how she does this. I got to do this. Oh, I find myself, she's kind of not paying attention. Maybe my voice is being too monotone. I'm going to maybe inflect a little bit, right? Little things like that. So now they kind of are aware of specific things to work on. So when things go right or wrong, they actually have a clear image of what they need to work on next, versus before they meet up with me, they're like, oh, it didn't work. Like, I'm the worst. It, like, obviously no one likes me. I'm unattractive. I'm this, I'm that. And they like blame it on this whole idea, when in reality, okay, micro, what are the little things that you can shift and focus on instead of blaming yourself for this whole other thing that may or may not be true? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm focusing. I'm applying it to myself. One thing that I started doing is I don't run. I work out a lot. So when I go running, I don't wear my headphones anymore. Or when I go to the gym, I don't wear my headphones anymore. And I think that a lot of times men have so many different things going on. And then there's so many different distractions. So when you put yourself in an environment and you remove as many distractions as possible, it just puts you more in tune with the moment, and it makes it easier to keep those conversations going. You can feel her vibe out a lot better. So I was thinking about what you said. And I was thinking about what you said around the conversation, making sure it flows, and I know that that works for me, being what's going on. One thing that they do say is this: a fish cannot teach you how to catch fish. What do you have to say to that?
Don't ask a fish, ask a fisherman is, I think, the correct term.
Oh yeah.
When it so if I had $1, fucking hell. So when it comes to that, I mean, listen, straight up.
It's a good question, though.
No, I mean, listen, I mean, it's a quippy little statement. They love to tell me that. So a couple things, right? First of all, yeah, listen, there are a lot of girls that give shit advice. If I have to hear one more female dating coach say, just be yourself, I'll shoot myself. You know what I mean? Like, it's too much. But at the other side of the token, how many terrible male dating coaches have you heard? You know what I mean? My biggest thing is, why would you pigeonhole yourself from good advice if the good advice happens to come from a woman's mouth? right? I think at the end of the day, and the other half too is look at the results, right? I have tremendous results with my clients. And I have lots of repeat clients. And if it wasn't, for that, I wouldn't be in business. The other thing too is I think that it takes to that point. I think that it takes a certain woman to really sit back and go, you know what? I've been on the receiving end for X amount of years. Not one girl on this planet, you don't think one girl on this planet has been like, you know what? I could see how they could do this better. Obviously, there's going to be at least one. And I'm it. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, obviously, there's going to be a few people that are logical enough to receive that information, think about it, and go, you know what? I can probably teach this because I've been on the receiving end. I am the receiving end, and I know how to communicate to men probably better than females.
Okay. You made a really good point at the beginning. There's so many male dating coaches on the internet that give horrible advice. And a lot of those guys on the internet are bitter towards women. And they're basically, I think they're teaching young men that they can't trust women and to hate women. So that's what I'm trying to change. One of my goals is actually trying to change that narrative with a young man and teach them how to attract the woman that's right for them and, be comfortable within that in that space in general. So what is you have a step-by-step guide on how to help men get the women that they want. Give me some of those steps. Like how would that begin? What is one of the first things that you would do to teach a man how to to attract a woman that he desires?
I think that one of the things I find myself also repeating is instead of so many guys think that they need to, oh God, there's so many avenues. I have so many ways I can handle this question. Let me think about this. I think one of the things is instead of getting information, people are not attracted to facts. People aren't attracted to information. People are attracted to fun and emotion, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of guys, what they'll do is, oh, I'm just going to keep asking this girl question after question after question after question to reveal information about her because girls just want to talk about themselves. And now she's going to magically fall for me, right? But how can that be possible? How can I, as a woman, decide if I like you if all we've done is talk about myself? That makes no sense. So one of the things that I teach is instead of asking questions, make strong statements. So I have this whole thing. It's called SCOOT, right? So I love my little acronyms. When it comes to how you can make strong statements, all right, what can you do? What are all the possibilities, right? So she says something. What are all the possibilities that you can come up with, right? That is not a question. First thing is SCOOT, S, storytelling. So any story or anecdote that you have about yourself, reveal information about yourself. How are we going to decide if we like you if we don't know anything about you, right? Another thing, if you read the book Sapiens, what's the guy's name? Yuval Israeli. Anyway, great book. They talk about this. Humans, the difference between humans and animals is our ability to understand story, myth, right? Narrative. So it is so ingrained in us that a good storyteller is valuable. We listen to great storytellers. Become a better storyteller, right? That is such a huge attraction trigger right there. So S is for story. C is for commonality. Reveal commonalities, expose dissimilarities. Don't be so agreeable all the time. Maybe a commonality, maybe something you don't agree with, right? But be able to talk about not only you do that thing too, but the feeling behind those things. So then you can connect on them, right? Strong. So O is for strong opinion, right? Make a strong opinion. And in the beginning, when you first meet someone, it's really helpful to either you love something or you hate something. Mm-hmm. You just come off much more intriguing. Or if you're kind of like whatever about it, I love it and I hate it, right? Because now you can ask, what do you love about it? What do you hate about it, right? Now you get the conversation going. You're baiting her. Another O is for observation. Can you make an observation about her, you, the situation, what have you, right? Sillier the better. Tease. Tease is one of the toughest ones to teach But teasing in a playful way, crucial, crucial, crucial. Why? Think about it. Every girl has seen guys with their guy friends. You've been with your guy friends. When you have a guy that you don't like and he says something that you don't agree with, your homie, right? Are you just gonna be like, oh, that's cool, man? Like, I feel differently. No, you're gonna rag on him. You're gonna be like, no way, like da da da. Like, you're gonna play with him, be playful. So women see that with their guy friends, with their brothers, and all of a sudden they see, okay, this is how guys interact with people they like. All of a sudden, that same guy turns around and treats her differently, as if she's on a pedestal. No. Listen, being on a pedestal is real nice up until a point, but a pedestal is lonely. It is lonely. I don't want to be up there. I want to be down here with you, playing equal, right?
Yeah.
It also relieves me a lot of pressure. So get better at teasing. And then the last one is together we frames, right? So scoot with two T's. Together we frames are you and me both doing this funny thing in the future, hypothetical situation, whatever, playful banter. Doing those we frames is really, really powerful. You can also do like, oh, you and me would never get along, right? The false disqualifier, just like hypothetical situations where you and her are together in the future, either good or bad, funny, silly, whatever. So those are all the ways that you can come up with something that isn't just, oh, that's cool, another question, right? It's a better way of leading.
You made some good points. And one of the points you were talking about was playful banter. Knowing how to tease a woman and basically lighten the mood. One thing that I'm wondering though is that why I don't hear too many dating coaches leading with this. Why not lead? Why not first begin with sex appeal? How does your body look? How do you dress? I think that we're very primal. We're just like every other animal in the species. The woman has to look at you and find you sexually desirable.
Mm-hmm.
So why lead with words before the sex? Well, for the sexual attraction.
I'm not sure I understand. So you're saying that
I'm saying like the first step when you have a guy with you, he joins your program. Why not the first step be, let me see your Instagram, let me see how you dress. Let me get a sense of your style. Let me see your body. Send me some pictures of you with your shirt off. How comfortable is he naked? Because from the reason I say that is because I attract women, but I used to think the same thing. I used to think that if you really liked a woman, then I had to change up everything who I was. I had to talk a certain way. I had to carry myself a certain way, be this romantic guy or whatnot. But I wasn't aware that women like sex just as much as men do. A lot of when a guy sees a woman, he's looking at her curves. He's looking at how her legs look in that dress. He's looking at her smile. He's looking at her skin, her glow. And women look at the same thing when it comes to men. I just wasn't taught that growing up. And ever since I started wearing more fitted clothes and I wear like my tank top to the gym or compression, I notice I get a lot more eyes from women from age 18 to 80. So I'm wondering why not tell the guy to improve his sex appeal before he because if a woman's attracted to you, you can see she enjoys you the way you look.
Yeah,
I mean, a bit more relaxed when you speak to her.
Bold of you to think I don't. I definitely do. I definitely tell men to work on that. I mean, listen, the reality is, so this is how I describe it. Ready? So everyone's got a cup. Boom. Everyone's got a cup, empty cup, right? You are a cup and you want a cup. So it's just like there are different value points, something to fill your cup, right? So it could be looks, it could be humor, it could be fucking storytelling, right? It could be a social connector, status, all these different money, height, whatever the fuck, right? Anything that fills your cup, it could be different levels of each, right? If you are only going off of looks, you might fill up the cup so much. But does good looks, a good style, fill up that cup a little more than it would have? Absolutely. But here's how I like to actually explain it, because everyone and their mother has heard, oh, you got to hit the gym, you got to do this. Well, why haven't they done it? Right? So there is, this is something I taught for so long, but then I saw the documentary Stutz and I got to give it up to him. I just like the way that he explains it better. So I'm just going to fucking steal it from him because it's worth it. But either way, there's something that he talks about called the pyramid. And Genius. So you have a pyramid, right? We all have seen a pyramid, triangle, if you will. The bottom base layer. So if you are directionlessness, that's not the word, directionless. I always mess up that word. Directionless. He always says, just go back to this theory, right?
Okay.
Screw everything else. The first layer, the base layer, relationship with body.
I'm listening.
Start going to the gym. Start eating clean. One of the biggest problems with our culture is we just see health and fitness and diet and nutrition as a way to look more sexy, right? It's just like, oh, I got to look better for the other people. I got to look better for the other people. It's the way I thought about for so long, especially being a woman. When in reality, nutrition has so much to do with your mental freaking health.
1,000%.
If you are talking, right, if you are my biggest thing is if you are struggling with self-confidence, what are you eating? What are you eating? Are you moving your body? Or are you doing the same exact things that you've been doing and wondering why nothing's changing? The first thing to think of when I'm, even me, even Jamie, if I start talking negatively about myself to myself, the first thing I'm like, what have I been eating? Oh yeah, that's right. Like shit the last few days, so you have to think about it. So much of who we are and what makes up our thoughts is through our gut and through our mental health. And it's all through diet and nutrition, right? Exercise is so important to, if you are depressed, and I'm not saying it's going to replace therapy or antidepressants, I'm not even going to get there, but what will help is I'm all about, and you'll know this from my channel, Jamie Date. If you know this from my channel, I don't give vague woo-woo advice. It's all very step-by-step practical advice, right? How can you get more happy? How can you get more happiness chemicals into your brain, right? What are the actual tangible steps? It's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Endorphins are released when you exercise, when you even go outside and walk around. Serotonin is released when you see nature, right? So one of the easiest things to do, like some of my clients who suffer from depression, or just sad, or just like frustrated or angry or just not lots of negative feelings. One of the things I ask them, I'm like, tell me your day. Well, I work from home. I sit inside all day, and I play video games at night. So you don't go outside all day. Not one day, not 1 minute. Oh, to run errands. Yeah, no, you got to go outside. Listen, we as humans are not meant to live the life that we are living. We are not meant to, be on a laptop going like this all the time, right? We have to start prioritizing. And my other problem, we only prioritize nowadays the things that bring us money. That is the only thing we are taught. Be a hustler culture, capitalism, this whole thing. No wonder we are in a society that is filled with anxiety and depression. We have to start prioritizing the things that actually bring us actually bring us happiness, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, as if they were things that bring you money. That is the only thing that will bring you happiness, is actual happiness chemicals. Money doesn't give you that. Money gives you options, definitely doesn't get you happiness. And so when it comes to that, yes, nutrition and exercise, number one. So that's the first base of the pyramid. Boom. Second one, relationship with others. Oh, so okay. The first thing, my biggest issue that I have, another thing, my clients, who do you hang out with? What is your social circle like? Well, I've been hanging out with the same guys I've been hanging out with since I was in high school, college. A lot of them are married. We go to the same bar. We talk about the same things. No wonder life has gone stagnant. You're doing the same stuff.
You're not growing. And other people
ain't growing. You stuck, right? You're plastic. You got to grow. So get out of that comfort zone. Start going to my biggest thing, and I get bashed for this one, but I don't even care. One of my biggest things, go to meetup.com, go to Living Social, go to Nextdoor, go to all these, try and get involved in a community. Think about it. Before all of this, we traveled in packs, in herds. We are used to community. We are used to community. As great as social media is, it brings us together. It's actually pulling us apart. We have to go back to human connection. So involve yourself in a community expand your social circle, and guess what? Flirting becomes a hell of a lot easier. And the last one is relationship with self. How do you talk to yourself? So a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm going to get my mind right. I'm going to work on myself. And then I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to get my mind right. I'm going to work on myself. And then I'm going to start going to different places, meeting people. It don't work like that. You got to start from the bottom, because by the time you get to the top, relationship with self, then everything starts snapping into place. Then your self-talk will naturally get better because you're eating right. You're going to the gym. Then your self-talk will naturally get better because, you're distracted with new things, new friends, new communities. It all works, but you gotta start somewhere, and you actually have to put in the action, because that's actually, out of everything I'm saying, it's not going to matter if you don't put it into practice.
What pyramid was this again? Because I know I'm thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but you
Another
said
one I teach. Love Maslow. We can also talk about that one too. I got a whole theory on that one. But no, this is Stutz. So STUTZ. Netflix documentary, homework assignment for everyone listening. You got to watch it. Jonah Hill, who I've loved for so long, and I love that he's doing like a little reprise. He started going to therapy with this guy Stutz, and Dr. Stutz, and he loved it so much he made a freaking documentary about it, because he loved the way this guy teaches. And I love this guy too, because here's my issue with therapy. First of all, I love therapy. I think everyone should go to therapy. Yay, therapy all day, right?
I went to therapy, but it was a waste of time. But don't take my word for it.
But either way, therapy is good, but it's not great a lot of the times, because it's funny. They actually talk about this in Stutz, and it just rang so true. They're saying that, okay, where do most people go for advice? Sorry. Most people go when they have problems. They go to their friends. What do their friends do? They give them advice. But in reality, they just want their friends to listen. They go to therapy to get advice. But what does the therapist do? They just listen, right? So one of the reasons I like being a coach and not a therapist is because not only do I play the role of therapist where I listen, but now I play the role of coach because I speak. I actually tell you what to do. I assess. I give you my best clarity, my best guidance, my best judgment, and I regurgitate in the form of actual tangible steps for you to do to start working and improving your life today.
Well said. Well said. I definitely, I don't go to I learned at a real young age, don't talk to your friends about women and relationships. I never go to my friends. I actually go to my parents. If it's important enough for me to ask somebody, I can always go to my parents. My parents that live the life, they don't hold nothing back. And I know that they'll keep it 100% real with me and let me know if it's my fault, where I need to check myself, or when I need to evacuate or handle things differently. But also, I got the same feeling from therapy as well. I felt like there weren't no solutions. There wasn't a plan. Like I just assumed, like when you go to therapy, they'll listen, but they'll help you create a plan to like recover. But it was nothing. It was just talking. I felt like I was being more just, I don't know, like nurtured or just catered to. They're being phony. I felt more of a phony vibe when I was there.
Right. I will say I've had that experience with therapy, but I've also had really great experience with therapists where they're more like Stutz or like coaches, where the therapist I was going to most recently a few years ago, she actually provided advice and to-dos and things like that. And I found that type of therapy much more helpful. So I think also it just depends on your therapist, but another problem with this country is it's so gosh darn hard to get a therapist that you like. And if you don't like it, you have to change. And that's a whole nightmare situation for a lot of, insurance companies and the whole nine.
I got another question that just came to my head. We're about the same age. And did you go to college?
Yeah.
Okay. Where'd you go?
Waste. I'm just kidding.
Huh?
It's a huge waste, but I'm just kidding.
Where'd you go to college?
Florida State. Go Noles.
It's a good one. When I was in college, when I was looking at colleges, I think Florida State and Santa Barbara were like the top party schools in the country. Yeah. So I know that was fun. But my point is, when we were in college, it was normal to like approach a woman and have a conversation with her, and then basically try to woo her and convince her to like basically get you to hook up with you. And women, I felt like when we were in college, women did more women did more when they liked the guy. They would either get their friends and tell their friends like, oh, I think he's cute, and their friends would approach you, or they would draw you in now. But ever since social media and these dating apps came out, I can definitely see a difference between our generation and the generation underneath us. Both
Mm.
both of the men and women, I feel like they're socially awkward. How do you how do you help men within that demographic learn how to communicate with women? 'Cause I feel like there's so much more anxiety due to these devices. You mentioned it, like social media it was meant to bring us together, but it's actually separating us.
Right. So, I mean, my biggest thing is getting them to understand that even the best of the best of the best of the best pickup artists, dating coaches, they still get nervous when they talk to women or men. And if they tell you otherwise, they're fucking lying. But it's more of how you react, how you handle that nervousness. Is it a little bit of nervousness and then you keep on going anyway? That's what you want. I want you to practice so much that even though you feel nervous, it doesn't stop you. It's just like going to the gym. Because guess what? I hate going to the gym more than anybody. I hate it. This is what I always say. If you hate going to the gym, first of all, let me explain. I wake up in the morning, every day, the first thought in my head is, God damn it, I have to work out. Every single morning. But you know what? I formed that habit. It takes 21 days to form a habit. I formed that habit about 4 years ago now. If I don't, I still wake up every morning. I hate the gym. I hate the gym. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. But you know what? You know who goes every day? Me. It almost becomes like I have, if I don't go, that bothers me even more. So
Yeah.
it's almost that mindset shift of like, I want you not approaching to bother you so much that you're going to start approaching because you've normalized that feeling.
I feel what you're saying. You want them to change their thought pattern when it
Correct.
comes to their behaviors when it comes to dealing with women. You can apply that to a lot of different things. I'm a competitive boxer, also compete in karate, and basically, you're trying to train these men to not let fear govern their actions. And I see that in the gym. I see that with women, men approaching women. I also see that with men when it comes to fighting. Like, sometimes your thoughts can get the best of you. And before you know it, unconsciously you're picking up a negative thought pattern. And the scary part about that is that you think that thought pattern will only affect you when it comes to hitting on women, but that negative thought pattern will reflect itself in other areas of your life.
Yes.
So,
Yes, because that's the other thing too. So many people will tell me like, "Oh, like I want to get, I want to get really good at dating. I want to improve my dating life, but I'm going to work on myself first." And I'm
yeah.
like, "Do both. They're the same thing.
Mhm.
It's the same skill set. I'm going to work on my job. I'm going to work on being better at sales. I'm going to be working on da 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 da. Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same skill set because
Yeah,
now you're just training your brain to achieve hard things. Period.
yeah.
It's all habits.
You learn that, and you just learn that with time and maturity. Because I know for me personally, I had women, and obviously I'm more mature now, but I had women who definitely wanted to be in my corner. I mean, I actually had a woman tell me like, "Hey, I don't mind sharing you. I just want to be a part of your life, and I want you to respect me and make me your main chick." I was so immature at the time, and I was in my late 20s, but I was so immature at the time that I didn't even take her serious. In my mind, my problem was this: I always put my career and my goals before a relationship. I felt like I had to have everything checked. I had to have the house, I had to have the car, I had the finances before I even think of having a serious relationship. And I missed out. I missed out on some great women because of that. And I'm learning now that, you can build your castle. You can also find your queen at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And actually, what you said reminded me of so many people who like win awards or like especially men who like win awards or like really high achieving milestones in their life, whatever. And the way that they thank their spouse, especially if they've been together for a long time, you can see it in their face. Like, I could not have done this without you. And it's that teamwork, because that's the other thing too is this is something my grandmother said, shout out Mimi, is I'll never forget it. She said it to me when I was a kid, and it just stuck with me. It's when you marry someone or in a relationship with someone, marry your best friend, because when the romance is dead, that's all you have left. And and obviously, you know, it's very very harsh, honestly, but and not that I totally agree. Obviously, romance you can keep, but either way, the sentiment of what she's saying is it's so important to have that teammate in life. Life is hard, you guys. Life is freaking hard, especially because think about it. Again, what did we used to do before all of this? We used to travel in packs and in herds. So we are used to having other people to lean on. So in that, it's okay. And actually, I would even argue that is better for you and your career when you have that loving relationship, that she can pick up the slack when you're really busy and vice versa, right? It just becomes easier with a teammate, with life being so hard as it is. So to remember that, like, yes, I love the way you put it. Like, you can build your castle and find your queen at the same time, because a lot of women are looking for that teammate as well. Because again, you know, many of us, most of us, are working now too, and we are building careers ourselves, and especially in this society where women are, you know, really expected to parent as if they don't have work and work as if they aren't a parent. We need, not even we want, we need men to step up and be that equal partner in the child rearing, in the housekeeping, in all of these things, because we can't afford, most of us can't afford a one income household anymore. So it's just it's getting back to, let's find a teammate so we can build this life together. But at the same time, a woman needs to see, and a man needs to see, the potential of what you've already got going for me to be like, okay, I want to commit to that.
I'm loving this conversation. You know, I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast that there's women that I had that loved me. You know, we could have did things, we could took it all the way, but for whatever reason things didn't work out. Primarily my fault. And they, you know, some of them are married,
Admit
some
it.
have relationships, and they still reach out to me. They still check in on me. It's because we built that friendship.
Mm-hmm.
We'll always be bonded. Would they?
Yeah.
10 years can pass by, and we can chop it up like we just saw each other the other day. You
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah. You know, my ex-boyfriend, my first real boyfriend, I've dated, you know, a bunch of guys here and there, but my first like real love, I'll even say his name, Patrick, out there. Him and I, you know, and I've told him this before. He really set the standard of men who I date. He was a great partner, great partner. But like much like you, I think you and I have very similar paths. I was young. I was 23. I just moved to LA. I was like, okay, like he's great, like da da da. But like, you know, being young, I'm like, all right, what else is out there? Da da. You know, and then of course I probably missed out. But having said that, though, so much time has passed. He, you know, he's dating actually a beautiful girl now, and I wish him all the happiness. But it's the same thing. Like, I have such a good relationship with my ex, and it's just like, it's all love. You know what I mean? Nothing sexual, nothing romantic, but like, you're a good guy, I'm a good girl. Like, I hope you do life well, you know? And every time we see each other, same thing, we chop it up like no time has passed. And I think that's just like the ultimate sign of maturity, right? And understanding that people can have that relationship and it not be, you know, weird or like there's something secret or something else like that. You know, I think it's just that level of maturity that I hope everyone ends up getting to, because it's just a much easier way of looking at life. I'll be honest with you.
we have barely got through these questions, and we almost an hour in. We only answered 3 questions so far that you gave me.
That's my fault. I'm a talker.
Like, yeah, I love it. We just vibing.
Yeah.
You professionally catfish women on dating apps as a guy. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite topics. Okay. So actually, I'm surprised I didn't mention this when the whole "you can't don't ask a fish, ask a fisherman." So that was kind of my whole way of getting back to those people that kept telling me, "Oh, you want to catch a fish? Don't want to fish, catch a fisherman." I'm like, all right, let me prove it. What is the one avenue that I can actually do it and prove that I can do it as if a guy would? And I'm like, online dating. So what happened was Jared Sack Lawrence, owner at Modern Flirting, he was all of a sudden he called me up one day. He's like, Jamie, you're going to teach the online dating class. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I use online dating. I think I'm pretty freaking good at it. But also the bar is really low for women because women are fucking terrible at online dating. But either way, I'm like, all right, I don't really know what to do. He's like, yeah, just, make a profile. You can use my pictures and, start it and see, what conversations and get their numbers and just teach guys how to do it. And I'm like, all right. Turns out I'm really good at it. So I'm picking up women left and right, right? So but also one thing, and this is my favorite part about my job objectively, other than these fun podcasts, my favorite part about my job is writing hinge prompts and just writing funny messages. Like I love bantering. Like bantering is like my shit. I think it's fun to just again act as if the person you're texting is your best friend, right? And that's what I really got to understand how women think, what women respond to, what they don't respond to, how to lead from match to date, when to ask on the date. Is it too soon? Is it too late? You know what I mean? Like you don't want to be spending so much time talking to them, but also you don't want to rush into it either. So I've developed a formula for everything when it comes to that. And how to openers are my favorite. Just riffing off of their profile, even if they don't have anything, right? So it's just that has been a really fun joy, and it's been a way where I can prove that I am just as good as the boys, if not better.
I think that part will be helpful for all men, knowing how to handle those dating apps. Because I've gotten playoff dating apps, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm pretty dry. I match with a girl. I'm like, hey, when are you free?
Oh God, oh, get my
And
number. We'll talk. We'll talk.
hey, but it works sometimes. It don't work. That obviously don't work most of the time, but it works sometimes.
Yeah, no, obviously everything works sometimes.
I think that something that like what you just stated will be very helpful because it gives men an idea of like you said what women really respond to. Because
Mhm.
guys really, I mean, in this male space, all men think is you gotta have muscles, you gotta have muscles, and you gotta have money to get the girl. Primarily muscles. You gotta be good looking, and then you'll get women beyond you. And honestly, women do respond to men with muscles, but it's not everything. And
Exactly. It's the things that fill your cup. Muscles can only take up so much,
yeah,
right? It's just what other value points are you giving? But yeah, it's funny. That is actually, I'll be honest with you, that is my most common misconception. I have two. My
okay.
biggest common misconception is you got to be rich to get girls, rich and good looking. I can't tell you how many of my clients are both rich and good looking that still come to me. It would blow your mind. And the reason why is because a lot of these men, they start giving out resumes. I'm good looking and rich. Why aren't girls dating me? It's hilarious. For every guy that tells me, "Oh, you just have to be rich and good looking," I have like 3 clients that I'm like, I wish I could just show you. And be like, "Really?" Cuz look, you know. But because again, you're not being rich and being good looking, you're not really stimulating her emotionally. Are looks important? Yes. But again, the top 3 things women look for in men, ready? Get your pen and paper out. Um Safety, comfort, and humor. That is what women look for. Men, it's loyalty, respect, good looks.
I know exactly what you mean. I like what you said at the beginning when you said they look for safety. A lot of women have to feel safe when they're with you, around you, or in your space because
And I don't even necessarily mean like physically, like you're not going to be fighting off
well,
birds, but
I've met women who I have definitely intimidated with my presence. And I just want to share this short story. The other day, I approached a woman in the gym that was seeing a friend of mine, right? And I had let her. Well, they're not talking anymore because he had told her. It's funny. He had told her that she looks better without makeup, and then for whatever reason, it rubbed her the wrong way. And then that was like the end of their thing, right? So, but I told him about this interaction that I had with her at the gym, and I told her I was like, "Hey, yeah, my friend said that you think I look mean," and she said, "Yeah, I don't know if you like me or if you want to kill me." So I feel like my demeanor, because I'm a big guy, I'm aggressive. I look like an athlete in person. Like I have to I have to calm down or smile more or do something to make a woman feel safe, essentially.
Smile more. You actually touched on a point that I need to make a TikTok video about this, but either way, this is a theory that I've been working on and I think it's accurate, so I'm just gonna release it. So I think that one of the attractive things that you can do, I almost call it like the onion effect, where it's so sexy when a guy looks a certain way and almost acts the opposite. So, like the cutest, like the most like attractive, adorable men are like either the big dudes that look like athletes, but they're like he's like a little teddy bear, like he's like so friendly and like really funny and like self-deprecating almost in a way because you're so tough looking on the exterior. Like Cosmo, for example, at Modern Flirting, like the way he dresses, he looks, he's got studs on the jacket, he like looks like a badass, he's tall. But the two things he loves talking about are his little dog Rambo, and then his grandma, who's his best friend. Like it's like so opposite of what you would think would come out of his mouth. Same thing. My little the guys that I tend to go for are like my little Jewish looking boys. I don't know. I got a thing anyway. And like I love like the nerdy looking guys, right? The little skinny scrawnies. But they got fucking edge for days. They act like a badass. They act like the toughest, biggest guy up in the place. It's just like when you act the opposite of what people expect from you, that is what creates layers and excitement in getting to know you from a feminine perspective.
Makes you a dynamic person.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's honestly why I'm like blonde and like from my exterior, I got my hair done, but either way, I'm blonde, like, like cute little peppy little, whatever. But as soon as I open my mouth, loud, outspoken, not afraid to, have intellectual conversation, things like that. It almost like, I love that contrast, right? Because it almost makes it like that dynamic personality that gets people to be interested in you.
Yeah. You're right. Me being an athlete, people don't think I'm a software engineer, and they find out I'm a software engineer. Like, oh, what? Or even with this podcast, I think people get to know. One of my best friends, he actually told me this months ago. He said, "Man, when I'm watching your podcast, I'm not aware that I'm watching my friend. It's like you seem smarter." You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it does allow people to see a different side of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's the same thing. I love being like a dating coach too, because as soon as I start talking about all these theories, people are like, oh, you do know your shit. Okay. It like goes back to the whole like don't ask a fish, whatever that one is, the catch fish fisherman. It's like as soon as I start opening my mouth, people start reconsidering that opinion.
We got another good topic. The next one is the beliefs in masculine and feminine constructs. You believe that masculine and feminine constructs are ruining it for men and women. Could you explain that for me?
Oh, okay. Constructs, masculine and feminine constructs. All right. So listen, at the end of the day, I think it's just plain stupid that we associate personality characteristics with gender. That's it. Period. End of story. Like I think it's dumb that like I'm not vulnerable. I don't, I'm masculine, so therefore I don't show emotion. Yeah, you do. How many holes have you punched in your wall? You know what I mean? Like, why is every school shooter a male? Like it's just the only feelings you feel like you're allowed to show, unfortunately, have been taught to you is anger and is wrath. You know what I mean? And it's we have to, and women, it's in movies and books. It's like when things go wrong, the girl's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Have you ever seen a girl in a real situation? They are very prepared. They, we are very intelligent. I think that what's happening is with these masculine and feminine labels is it's tricking people into having limiting beliefs of why they can't be that thing. That is actually probably going to help them in the long run. Right?
I agree. Honestly, I thought about this as well. And it comes down to religion. I've been doing my own research. I'm going to have somebody on the show in about a month that's going to go into the different masculine archetypes that different societies have, I want to say they explored in over the generations and decades. But if you take a look at the Christian masculine archetype, it's pretty much is Jesus Christ. You know, they talk about Jesus. We talk about stoicism. We talk about I don't know. The main thing that men focus on for the most part is war, being intellectual, and when it comes to women, the archetype that women have is Virgin Mary. So men in the Western world, whether it's not even just the Western world, men that are within Christianity and Muslim, they expect women to be virgins. And if women aren't virgins, then they're not, something's wrong with them. But if you look at human societies before Christianity blew up, they did a better job at exploring not only the male psyche, but also the female psyche. You had Athena, the goddess of war. She was aggressive. But if women are aggressive today, they think that that woman is being masculine. If a woman's aggressive and assertive, she's no longer a woman. She's trying to be a man, you know, because we apply these character traits to men. And also, you know, they had Aphrodite. They had that goddess of love and beauty and sex as well. You know, I think you make a good point that right now, what we have right now is our culture is changing socially, but we still have these old belief systems that are conflicting with what we're seeing socially. And there's nobody in society preparing men and women on how relationships will look in the future. Because I think that honestly, I think you can have a healthy relationship. There isn't one way to a relationship, first off. And I think you can have a healthy relationship with somebody, regardless if they're a virgin, regardless if that relationship is open. I think it comes down primarily to the friendship, the bond that you have with that person, and you know, having a long-term goal. I will say that money plays a part too today, because it is hard to pay these bills and people want to make their life as easy as possible. So, you know, we have these sexual needs and these social needs and these financial needs that are in conflict right now. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, you know, and I think that like things like with Andrew Tate and you know, this whole like a woman's value starts and ends with, you know, her body count is really, you know, it just the whole idea just isn't helpful. And so many people love to compare like women to Velcro, and like we're like Velcro, and if you've been Velcroed or whatever, like we're like keys to locks, and
I will
you
say
know,
this.
what?
I think it's inappropriate for women and men to talk about their body count. I'm
Yes,
not I'm not going to tell you that the body count doesn't matter. If I see a woman that I'm interested in, and she tells me she's been with 42 dudes, first thing I'm gonna think is, why are you telling me that? And then I'm gonna be grossed out. I'm also gonna be grossed out if she tells me she's been with 8 guys, because I don't want to know. I'm trying to get to know you. I don't need what happened to things just being your personal business.
right. And why are they your personal business? Because this is my biggest thing with comparing women to objects, is because with objects, they don't learn and grow from situations, right? They just get used and thrown away. But that's not how humans work, is it?
Yeah.
Maybe those 8 guys that she's been with, or 10 guys, or 42 guys, maybe that has led her to make better decisions about what type of guy she does want to be with. Right? I think that I agree with you. I think it's completely inappropriate to talk about body count. I don't know what this obsession
I don't like it when dudes talk about it. I told you earlier that if I had a relationship issue, I learned a long time ago, don't talk to your male friends about women, especially women you're dealing with. I go to my family about that. I think it's classless to, if a guy comes up talking to you like, hey man, I just hooked up with this and this, I have this many girls here, this, that. I think something's wrong with him. I think he's immature. You know, but really, honestly, I think what it comes down to, a lot of men just want to control women. There's it wasn't just so long ago that not too long ago, that a man could actually beat his wife. You know, that was about in the 30s, 40s. You know, men could get away with beating their wives.
They still do.
Know, yeah, they still do. I work out. Yeah, they still do. And now that not only do women have these laws in place that protect them from that, women also have financial freedom. You know, it's funny. I was watching Andrew Tate, and he had a interview with Pearly Things, I believe. And what he has said there, he's like, name me one woman in history that was praised and that was promiscuous. And he said the people didn't name one, but there was 2. It was Queen Elizabeth and there was a Queen Cleopatra. They both were promiscuous. They both had multiple sex partners, and the thing that they had in common is that they had power. They had financial power. They had control of their life. And now today, in today's world, women have way more control and power over their life. So the connection I'm trying to make is that I think that when women are given the same opportunities men are, and they're not reliant on men, they want the same things men want. They want to explore themselves sexually. They want to travel the world. They want to learn and grow. And it just so happens we're living in a day and age that women haven't had this type of freedom in thousands of years. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, and also like if that was if my true value, started and ended with my body count, what would be the incentive for women to develop personalities at all? We should just wear signs with our body count walking around. Like if that's all that really matters, then what's the point of developing a personality? Like it makes it just, I don't know. It blows my mind, but really I think it's just protection. I mean, men just want a woman that has a lower body count than them because I think that for the first time men are realizing that women are getting what they've wanted all along, which is abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But how in history, how do men typically respond to something like that? Instead of learning from them, we're going to kill them. Right. Or their reputation.
Yes, they're going to kill them. They're going to rape them. They're going to control them. They're going to do something. Because typically, I mean, women are just like every other species on the planet. Women want the best men that they can get within their group.
Right.
Basically, they think because women are responsible for passing on the best genes to the next generation. For the survival of the species, women have that sole responsibility. But for hundreds, thousands of years, women's sex has been controlled by men. Now there's men who are having issues with women, who are angry with women because women essentially aren't choosing them.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're going back to a more primal. I'm just curious to see what's going to happen because when men can't have sex, that's when they get violent.
I mean, look what's happening in our schools, and freaking there's a shooting every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's already. I mean, we're already seeing the effects, right? And so, but yeah, I mean, and the other thing too is at the end of the whole, I'll end on Andrew Tate. I don't know about you, but when I look at the people who tend to love him, I tend to see very angry single men. The ones that are in happy marriages, the ones that are in happy relationships, they're usually not the ones that are fucking, tooting Tate's horn. So that's the other thing too. Like I just look at the data, like who's following them? Not happy, men that are in relationships.
He's regurgitating a narrative that already exists within the red pill, money, fast cars, the high value man. He's putting out these words because it helps him build up his name, his brand or whatnot.
Right.
But you're right. The men who are successful with women or men who have had a lot of sex with them, they tend to have a lot more wisdom within that space. But a lot of men cannot relate to those. A lot of men cannot relate to those types of guys. So when Andrew Tate gets on there and he's talking about female promiscuity and making money, all this stuff, guys, it just resonates with them. So he's able to build that strong following. If I were to go and say, hey, the body count don't matter, it's her mind. You need to connect with a woman mentally. You need to do this. I'm not going to get anywhere with that. They're going to be like, oh, these women ain't shit. And, it's not going to go far.
Yeah, women are shit because they make me feel like shit. Psychology 101.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on the red pill community?
I actually interviewed the guy that started the red pill community years ago with Jared Psych Lawrence at Modern Flirting. But that was years ago.
What was it then, though? Tell me about the interview. How was it? How did the interview go? What was the red pill then? Because it's definitely has changed over the years. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he the thing I didn't love, he made it like honestly, a lot of the stuff he said I agreed with. So I'm like, why is it that I'm talking to you now and you seem like a normal, logical guy, but you're allowing this breed and these forums to grow under your watch and you're just letting it happen? He's like, oh, it's not my responsibility. Like they can say whatever they want, And it's kind of like, well, no, like you're the one that is leading this whole thing. Like you got to help steer. You just can't let them, crash into the wall, which seems like what was happening. But
it's like a leadership. There's just a group, but there's nobody there's
Step
no captain of the ship that's actually trying to navigate and take it somewhere. There's no rules. There's no rules or nothing.
My biggest thing, listen, at the end of the day, if a girl is the town bicycle, if she's really slept with every single one of your friends, okay, yeah, sure. Maybe you don't want to have sex with her. I get that. If a guy had sex with all of my girlfriends, you're absolutely right. I'm definitely not going to want to have sex with them. But honestly, how realistic is that narrative? Like, how many times have you met a girl where she's slept with everybody? Like,
hey, I've experienced that. Remember, I played ball.
yeah, well, that
I experienced that way more than I wish I didn't.
right.
It's yeah,
But
you have to be an athlete to really. You have to be in that space to really see that.
right, exactly. And are these men typically in that space? No.
Oh, no.
But again, it's one of those things where they're angry because these women are it seems the story that I love Brene Brown for this. The story that they're telling themselves is that these girls are having sex with every guy but them. And that makes them feel like shit. So therefore, these women are shit. And it just, for me, I don't care about any of it. Again, I'm very practical. Is the thought helpful? Is red pill helpful? And from my experience in the dating coach community, I feel like 90% of my clients, that might be a high number, 60% of my clients are recovering red pillars. Because a lot of them, it's funny, a lot of them don't even come to me. You know what I mean? I feel like being a woman in this space, I naturally weed out men that are I naturally weed out men that, you know, are kind of red pillars anyway, because they're not going to take advice from a fish. But the ones that do come to me, they usually start with, I used to really be into, you know, red pill and this dating coach and that dating coach, and I just have not got any results. And I need to know what I'm doing wrong. So I'm trying something new, which I encourage, and I'm actually going to get advice from a woman herself. And you seem like you know what you're talking about. And then all of a sudden they get results. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, you know, you got to let them come to that conclusion, because we can sit here and talk facts all day, but you're not gonna, you know, they gotta get there. But my whole thing with the red pill community, stay there. If it makes you feel great, great. But I'll tell you what, in a few years, when you look around and realize that your bed is looking as lonely as it ever has, you're going to start to realize that there might be other options. And I'll be here when that happens.
I feel you. I was about to say, I think that well, the red pill essentially what it means is seeing the truth, seeing things as they are, but it's definitely taken on. It's become its own little beast now, and it's basically become a negative narrative. I think that within that space, those guys that are coming to you, they basically they're every day they're hearing this narrative about how women are in this, and they're unconsciously living by that narrative on a daily basis, and it's kind of messing up where they're at. But one thing that I did whenever I struggled with, there were always certain women. Like when I played ball, you would get women that would. This is before social media, so you would get women who were driving from Idaho, Arizona, just different states, just to come to like a football party. And some of those women were like ridiculous. And the thing that helped me was just being around men who were good with women. You know, if you're a guy that's struggling to get the women you want, the best thing to do is actually go to a social event, find guys that are talking to women, and just be like, "Hey, man, I suck. I just want to be around you guys and see how y'all vibing or something. You know, see what you're doing." Because you know, guys. I mean, I love. Like, for example, one time I was in college. It was New Year's, and 3 women approached me at this party, and they told me they liked the way I looked. They thought I looked gorgeous, and they wanted to basically kiss me for New Year's. And I had told them, like, "Look, I would love to kiss you, but I cannot do that unless one of you kiss my boy." You know what I'm saying? I love to have make sure the group is having a good time, and one of them did. You know, so I think that's something a man could definitely can do. My last question I have for you: what do you think a high value male is?
Oof.
It's a good one. I hear this all the time.
That is a good one. And actually, to be honest, I don't think anyone's ever asked me that, so I got to think about this for a second. All right, a high value male is someone that has a strong sense of self, right? So what does that mean? That means that you are confident in situations where you might not be familiar or normalized or whatever, but you're confident in yourself instead of relying on the environment to be confident for you. I think that a high value male is so strong sense of self would be one. Another one, ambition. What are you doing with your life? And I don't just mean with money, but like, some of the best people that I know, like, might be, school teachers where they don't make a lot of money, but they're passionate about stuff. They have hobbies, they have things that they like doing on the weekends. You know what I mean? People who are independent and have a life, friends, strong social circle, someone that can be emotionally vulnerable, and actually communicative and not be fearful that the girl is going to, leave by the sight of an emotion being shown. You know what I mean? And actually be honest with who they are and know how to express it. And actually, you know what? To sum all of that up, someone who just works on themselves, someone that is in the self-actualization phase of the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Okay. I was on somebody else's podcast and they asked me this question. And what I had said was a man that lives life to the beat of his drum. If he wants to be that high power CEO, be that high power CEO. If he wants to bake cookies, bake cookies. But as a man that knows who he is, isn't ashamed of who he is, and he respects who he is. Because if you meet all those, that type of man will always create boundaries and he'll never let anybody, invade his personal space or whatnot.
Yeah, strong sense of self, but same thing. I like what you said, though.
Lovely. All right. Hey, Jamie, this was a great conversation. Hopefully we can do this in person. I want to have like a panel or something like that.
Yeah.
We can do these types of conversations. But any last words?
Yes, follow Jamie Date on TikTok, Instagram, all the social medias. And it's JAMIE Date. And thank you so much. This was a blast.
Yeah, thank you for being there. I'll catch you next time. Peace.
Absolutely.